simplify, automate, and accelerate. With Netaxis Solutions.
A few years ago, I went to a road show where a Gamma workshop, actually, good friends of ours, and they had a panel session which was supposed to be on the future of telecoms. And they had a very authoritative set of experts up on the stage, and at the end of it all, I stood up and I said, my vision of the future of telecoms is that you guys will all be out of a job, because life is far too complicated at the moment, and it's all about making life easy for the customer. And I got a real pushback, and it was, oh, but it's such a complicated industry, this, that we work more as in a consultative manner. And I thought, that's not really where the future is. The future is simple, automated. And so what I've tried to come up with is just a few slides which illustrate my thoughts there. On this first one, the first slide is that I Googled VW campervan hire in Lincolnshire. Now, I have to admit, right, my wife has a business, which is a campervan rental business called Anne's Vans, okay? But I Googled campervan hire, and it came up with, lo and behold, Anne's Vans came up top of the Google rankings, okay? And this is the normal process if you were trying to buy something, and this would be what happens if you're looking for a broadband or a new voice connection or whatever. That's what people do. They look online and they look to see what the Trustpilot reviews might look like. And so if I would go on to the next page, and I clicked on that top ranking website, Anne's Vans, and look, it's got 5-star reviews right across the patch. And that gives me confidence that as someone wanting to hire a van, that other people have had a great experience with it, okay? If I clicked on the website, and I got the website, and it's got all the usual stuff, FAQs, and oh look, it's got a check availability button. So I click on that, I put my dates in, and I've got 3 vans available for the dates that I wanted, and I booked it. Bang! Look, these are all real bookings, and every one of those yellow lines makes my bank account go ching, okay? And I look at my email in tray, and I see money coming in automatically without me having to be involved. The mechanic gets an email to say, this van is going to go out on this time, please have it ready. My wife gets Anne gets an email saying, and it goes as a calendar entry in our Google Calendar, telling her when she needs to clean the van ready for the next one, okay? Now, so that is the experience in what is a consumer play, but it's a customer acquisition experience. And if I look at, I did the same thing for a phone system. So I said, buy business phone system UK. So the same kind of experience. Look, it's the same screen. I've got the companies that it showed are companies that I'd never heard of, which was quite interesting. So UK phone systems, the VoIP shop, Meme Talk, none of the big names that you might expect, right? So I went through the same process with these guys. Right? I clicked, okay, the top one was, I can't even read the name of the company, and it's not something that sticks in my mind, but it's so far the similar process to the hiring a van, okay? And I click get a quote now, that was my next option. So I click get a quote now, and this is so far so good. Look, I've got lots of options to describe what I'm after from the telecoms company. So I ticked a few things. But when I got to the end, this is where the process broke down. This is where the automation broke down. Because they wanted me to fill in my name and my details, and they'll get back to me, okay? That is not an automated process. And this is what the whole industry is trying to get over, okay? And I think that the way ahead in this space is where this box is got rid of, right? And in some aspects of it, if it's a broadband connection, it's quite straightforward. I accept that some of these are more complex than others. So if you're looking for a complicated call center system, you might not necessarily, at the moment, be able to get it without having to talk to people, right? But this clearly is a breakdown in the process and how it works. So we've seen this slide before, but I thought I'd use it as to talk about some examples of how companies, telcos out there, are using automation to solve some of the problems to make their customer journeys easier. Right? And there's one. I was asked by one customer or prospect actually in South Africa to help them with the business case for a number porting solution, our number management system. Right? And I thought, well, we haven't actually got the business case. So I spoke to a customer who had already bought it and was using it. And they said that it was quite simple for them. They didn't have the numbers to back it up, but by implementing the automated number management and porting, they were able to do it with the same number of people that they already had. So it saved them money in not having to take on more people. And there's another example. We had a Broadworks user in the UK who approached us for a portal for their Broadworks system. They didn't have a portal. Everything was done manually. When they took on a new customer, it was all done by people sitting there and tapping the details in. And I had a meeting with their owner and CEO, and they came to the crunch. He said, it all looks great, but how much is it? And I told him the pricing, because he was expecting to have to negotiate. But he just turned around to his team and said, that pricing looks perfectly good to me. Let's move the conversation on to the next step. And I thought, oh, okay, doesn't happen like that very often. But later on, when we got further into the project, it turns out that the business case from their end for implementing the portal, because the portal allows customers to self-provision their own solutions. Right? Just what I was describing as what we need to do in the Hans Vans example. And for their budget for the following year, if they didn't have this automated self-provisioning, they were going to have to take on 8 more members of staff in the provisioning team. And so it's very easy then to understand how the owner could stand back and say, oh, that sounds fine to me. I think it was looking at a cost of maybe £100,000 a year for the software and the integration. Right? And you can understand that if it saves him having to invest in 8 new members of staff, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? So the message is that, this is where I think that the industry has got to finish off at. It's a journey that lots of people understand and recognize the need for. But when you look at, there are certain aspects of the technology now that are already moving to automation. So like software-defined networks, that you can actually put connectivity in instantly through some companies that provide already, they put the pipes in and they can do software provisioning for the connectivity. And the topics that we've got to talk about today all form part of that mix of solutions to the problem. It's all about moving to the cloud, it's about automation, and customer service as well, actually. We've got a talk by Ian Sinnott about that after the break. Now, so as I mentioned earlier, the problem that we're going to have here is trying to decide who to come and listen to. And I apologize for that problem, but I think it's a good problem to have. Following me, let me see where I'm at the time. Nearly there. We've got some really fantastic speakers today on some really hot areas. Okay. Next up, we've got Mike Wilkinson from Microsoft, who's going to give us an update on what's happening in the whole Teams world, the Operator Connect world, because that really is one hot area for everybody. It's certainly a hot area for Netaxis, as we've got a couple of talks specifically on what we do with Operator Connect and Teams Direct Routing. We've got a panel discussion later on that discusses the channel and the opportunities in the channel for that. And we also have a very interesting cloud panel where it says business case for the cloud, but it's really a discussion on where we're at in the applicability of the public cloud to telecom applications. Okay, and I think that would be really worth listening to. The one other thing I would mention is that Jeff Pover, who Manuel announced earlier. If you're not familiar with Jeff Pover is a real superstar in this industry. He was one of the driving pioneers of the whole VoIP industry. When I was around, I was on the board of the SIP Forum 20 years ago when it started. And the thing to do at that time was not come to a Netaxis Inspiration Day, it was to go to a VON conference. And so Jeff was around right at the early start of it. And Jeff is going to talk to us about where he's at now, because Jeff's probably the world's foremost expert in the Web 3.0, the non-fungible tokens and so on. Jeff was the founder of Vonage. He was one of the first service providers, SIP service providers in the world. And he was an early stage investor in Twitter, who of course are now being bought by Elon Musk for $54 billion. So Jeff is an extremely successful guy and has a lot of fantastic things to listen to. Now, next up, they've got two things. We've got Mike Wilkinson coming from Microsoft, but also we had so much interest in the discussions on fraud that there are two fraud panels on two different aspects of fraud. So if you want to move, any of you interested in going to that panel session, it's on in another room at the moment. But then if I could ask Mike to come up to the stage, that'd be very nice. Thank you, Mike.
Simplify, automate, and accelerate. With Netaxis Solutions.